Hey guys, it is Jen with the Intuitive Readers Guild, and today we have the amazing Nee Flowers. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. She is the creator of the Immaterial Garden and owner of Primordial Flowers Tarot. Hello, Nee.
Hey, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
Yay, thank you for being here. I'm so excited you're here. So I found Nee scrolling like I do through Insta and through YouTube, and I found one of her amazing videos. If you guys haven't seen her videos, you have to go to Immaterial Garden because her her reads are so awesome. So Nee, how did you get started with all this? First, I guess I should back up. How did you get into the tarot business? How did you start with tarot in the beginning?
Well, I mean, I think I've been drawn to tarot for quite some time. I was introduced to it through role play games when I was like a teenager. And then I did do intuitive reads just for myself and just for my friends. I hadn't actually shared my tarot with the public until when I started my YouTube channel. And that was about a year ago. So that was when I really buckled down. I really studied all the correspondences. I tried to learn more about the actual art and craft of reading the tarot. And ever since then, it's just absolutely in love with it. It's like one of my favorite activities. And also, it just feels so good to be able to be of service to other people.
Oh, that's so awesome. And you can so 100% tell that through your videos. Like it comes through 100% your love for it and your love for just the community in general. And what I'm so impressed with is how you really are trying to build and connect the community. You have Arcana Brick Road, right, is a project that you created that is a community-based. Explain it to me, actually. Explain it to everyone what it is.
So Arcana Brick Road is basically the major arcana of the tarot from the perspective of 22 different tarot readers in order to get a flavor, like different flavors, different voices, different tones of the community. So the collective project together is basically a sampling of the greater community at large, which is present, which is all different types of readers, all different types of expertise, focus, styles and aesthetic. And the one beautiful unifying thing is that we all have this one tool that we can focus all of these meanings and symbols into and then use that in order to strengthen bonds between us. And that's pretty freaking awesome.
That is so insanely awesome. I love that. I think that's so cool. And like, have you always been about collaborating and connecting with other readers?
Yes. The reason being, you know, I just really feel like one, it's like I could try to do well for myself, and that's great, you know, you get games, but doesn't it feel so much better when people are there with you, when you take people with you, when you take care of each other, when you're on the rise together? I mean, it's almost like feeling like you won the lottery and everyone else has won the lottery too. And why wouldn't you want to share that feeling with everyone in the community? And also for us as like specifically for spiritual workers or tarot workers or light workers, if we cannot get together and collaborate, if we cannot look out for each other, if we don't vibrate at the highest vibration of looking out for one another, then how the hell are we going to say we're going to teach anyone else how to do that?
You know? Girl, so true. Thank you.
I mean, Intuitive's Readers Guild is just such a wonderful resource. And, you know, I just felt that spirit of collaboration in this project too. So I'm like really grateful to be a part of this. So thank you so much for, you know, we were talking a little bit before, but just talking about how I feel like the community was always there, but what we need is people to facilitate those links and to create those spaces in order for the community to happen. It's not creating a community, it's allowing the community to happen.
Exactly. No, you're so right. It is. It's having a place where they can all come together because the community is already there. They just got to know how to find each other. Like we really are a huge community, and there's so many people doing so many amazing things, and that is just amplified 100,000 times more when everybody comes together.
Well, it also helps. The first thing that's hardest, I think, to break into a community, especially like tarot, can be feeling that imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough? Do I know my stuff? Whatever. The more welcoming we are to the people that are first joining the community, that's investing back into that community. That's also empowering those people to find their own voice as a reader. I mean, just so much good comes from it.
Everybody goes to that point where when they're starting out, where you do doubt yourself. You're like, well, look what that person's doing over there. Look what that person's doing over there. girl, we were all there. We all doubt ourselves. And there's no need for that because there's room in this community for everybody. Everybody is going to attract different clientele. They're going to put out different energy, just to have a whole different way of reading than anybody else next to them. So it makes no sense to compare yourself or to try to compete with everyone.
Yeah, on top of that, I mean, I could not imagine. I mean, I enjoy reading, but I understand that there are some people in the collective or some people out there, they're just not going to connect with my energy. They're not going to be able to get the messages from me. So instead of being obsessed with the messages have to come from me, what I'm thinking is, we all are serving the same community. We all want the same thing, to help people develop, to help people grow, to help people heal. And if we work collaboratively, we can just touch so many more lives together, and we can be that inspiration and that living model that is sometimes necessary. People have to see it in action before they actually will commit to making it their lifelong practice, you know? So when they see that collaboration, it sets that example.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. This is why I love you. This is why you're so fantastic. It's like, I am so all about that. We could go on for hours about collaborating and like coming together. I get so bummed when I see people who aren't starting their businesses or who aren't putting themselves out there because they're so worried they're not as good as somebody else. And that's just sad because you are. You are your own thing. You are your own energy, and you will attract who you need to attract. All right. So the other thing I want to ask you about, which has to do with all of your YouTube videos, is your content creation, because you are on the ball. You're constantly putting out such amazing content. Like, do you have a schedule? How did you get started? Like, how did you start with your whole content creation empire, if you will? I don't know.
Well, I actually I have a schedule, and I follow it very religiously just because it helps me to stay productive, and it helps me also to have that level of consistency. Because what I realized is that really when it comes to like the tarot on YouTube, it's about longevity. It's about endurance. Okay. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So having everything set, having as much chaos as it can happen when you're creating content, the more you have under control, for me, the better it is. But I also try not to make it so limited that I'm like trying to hit like step by step by step. I basically have like checkpoints for my week. I have certain days that I post things, and I try to make those marks, but I allow myself to have some flexibility in between. So I'm not dictating like every step, but I might make like an outline of something. I also tried to kind of see I experimented. Sometimes you do have to change your content based on what the community wants, what they're responding to, that sort of thing. And not to say to change your whole message, but that is to say maybe changing your presentation, or maybe thinking about a new idea or a new type of reading that might be more encouraging or more enticing for those people. So originally I had started with divine masculine, divine feminine, non-binary collective readings. And then I also added the astrology readings. And then after quite some time, I realized that, I just didn't resonate as much with the divine masculine, divine feminine, non-binary energy collective sort of readings. So then I went mostly into the astrology. And then I realized a lot of people are actually not doing cusp sign readings. And this, maybe I shouldn't share this, but I will say, if you feel comfortable with cusp energies, please work with them. Please make content for that, because there are so many people that are really looking for that. And then it developed into the moon and Venus signs as I got more and more interested in astrology through my studies of tarot and the correspondences. So it just kind of all fell into place. But initially I outlined everything and I made a schedule, because you have to have something consistent so then you can start experimenting, but you have the baseline to start from, right?
It allows you to see
like the patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It allows you to see that pattern so you can adjust accordingly. And I think that's so important that people realize that it is super imperative that as you go along, you just don't stay doing the same thing. You have to adjust to what feels right to you, but also what is right for your audience.
Also, what gives you motivated as a reader, because sometimes, actually novelty actually helps you as a reader to focus in more and to also keep enjoying the process. The problem is that at first it's fun. When it starts to feel like real work, like hard work, like work you don't want to do, that's when something needs to change. That's when it's probably your process.
If you start feeling that you're just not loving what you're doing, and it's just like a chore now to have to go and do these reads, like to get on camera and do them each time, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. You need to switch. You need to shake it up. It's time to shake things up.
Little changes like that, it's amazing how refreshing it is, how it reinvigorates you, gets your attention back. So, the readings are not just for me personally, I try to do the readings that feel right for me, the presentations that feel right to me, and then try to present it in a way that other people may like.
Like if it's not right for you, it doesn't matter if it's right for your audience.
Yes, because you'll be miserable, and people can tell if you're genuinely, that's the thing. People can tell if you're genuinely enjoying yourself. Even if you're nervous, you're enjoying yourself, your authenticity will shine through. And that's what really people want to connect with. And then it's optimizing, experimenting until you find what feels right and what also works for the audience, and then optimizing that until you have, something that's very refined. But the thing is, though, it's like, people want to do things where it's all polished from the very beginning. But the truth is, people will forgive you incremental, boosts in quality production and that sort of thing.
100%. And I think people relate to you more too.
Yes.
If people see that, like, hey, I've loved this, like I've done throughout this video. I was telling you yesterday. So this is a new platform for us. And yesterday we went live with it. I misspelled Intuitive Readers Guild.
I love that.
I went the entire live without anyone saying anything, and the name of Intuitive Readers Guild was misspelled under my name. So, but I think that just makes it like, oh, look, she's not a robot. She's a real person who.
Yeah, because it's intimidating. It's intimidating. You're like, what are you like? What are those called? The Stepford
wives. Yeah, exactly. You're so right though, because on Instagram, people a lot of times all you're seeing is the pretty shiny stuff. You're not seeing the crud that took them an hour to set up this perfect picture or this perfect video, and then other people are trying to compete with that, but it's not 100% real all the time. Yeah. So I think seeing that people are real, we make mistakes, it's not perfect, production value doesn't have to look like a movie studio. I think people relate with that, and I think people are finding more now these days that you'll get more views if you're more natural and more authentic than trying to be too polished and too shined up and pretty,
I think that's what's really important, though. That's what's wonderful about being in a community as well, because you start to get permission from other people by seeing what they do to do new things. So, for instance, if you have the guts to be authentic, to present yourself, to show the behind the scenes, to show the bloopers, then maybe someone who is a content creator, maybe there's a reason why they only present that shiny stuff. And it's probably because that's what they feel the expectation is. That's what they feel like their purpose, their role, that's the narrative that they have with Instagram. Now, with content creators working in the community, we can show each other that doesn't have to be the case. You want to ugly cry sometimes? Freaking ugly cry sometimes. Exactly. You're okay, because the thing is that we're working as models. We're working as models, and we're working as vessels for these energies and for these concepts in order to help people interact with them, to essentially interact with themselves, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think that sometimes, when I first started social media, I was probably a lot more judgmental about people being plastic and everything else. But what I realized is ultimately people are a product of their environment. And if the environment isn't clear about what those standards that they want you to meet or what they want from you, then it's like, yeah, people go into kind of like a dollhouse, Stepford wife mode, because because they don't want to disappoint people. Because I think at their core, even though you can think that maybe content creators are narcissists, at their core, content creators are actually people pleasers. Even the ones that piss people off. If you notice, they piss people off in a way that like is almost like some people like that. At the same time, too, I mean, I'm sure there are people that are just, they hit it every time. They're like on fire, whatever. And no hate or resentment to those people. Because
cheers to them, because I don't know how they do it. If I could do it like that more often, I'd be cool with that. But that's not how I flow. But I appreciate them.
Well, I mean, those people are lucky, but you know, for a lot of us, it just comes down to practice, to calculated behaviors, to strategy, and to just again consistency of behavior.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And certainly like content creation, like you said, it's so important to have a plan. It gives you that guideline, and you know, I think it takes the pressure off of creating content, because you know, okay, on this day, this is what I get to focus on. This is what I get to do. Yeah. And that leaves the rest of the week where you can let it flow and not have to worry, you know?
No, absolutely. And once you get used to it, you get used to hitting those marks, and you get an idea of how much time that's going to take, then it actually opens up to extra content. It opens up to like other things, and not because you feel obligated, but because you have the energy and you're able. But I will definitely say one thing that's very important is management of time management and also energy management. And those two are basically the same thing, you know, they're one and the same, but ultimately just when you first start, you want to push yourself so hard, but make a schedule that is reasonable, even to the point where it's like you have a lot of extra time, because that will allow you to have wiggle room to decide in the future if you want to adapt something, if you want to make something longer, if you want to add another segment. So it gives a certain amount of flexibility that allows you to kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's like dancing with your content, you know?
You know, and also that allows you to realize how much time you need to recoup. It does take energy away from you in general, you know.
And I do. I mean, I love it too, but it's like at the end of the week, I'm like, job well done.
Exactly. And then out for the weekend, just sleep through the weekend. I 100% hear you on that. Like, so what is it? Friday? No, today's Saturday. See, I can't even remember what day it is. Day is it? But I feel you on that front, because after a week of creating your content and putting stuff out and doing lives and doing all that good stuff, you need that extra time just to rest and like re-energize and ground and rejuvenate, because if you don't, you're gonna just I don't know what.
Yeah, you burn out. And also I've noticed that the more you do that to yourself, the more creatively blocked you become. The more creatively blocked you become, the more frustrated you become. Then you're like a lot more negative about like, oh, I didn't get this many views or blah, blah. So keeping yourself in that high energy at the beginning, being able to efficiently schedule that energy to be aware of that, it is such an important part of the process. But sometimes we always focus on the things that we're gonna do. Sometimes it's like going to that feminine energy of saying, but where do I need to reserve time and space realistically? Because obviously, you know, this energy doesn't come from nowhere. Okay, it doesn't grow on trees. Okay.
So I know one of the things that you're excited to talk about today was a modern collaborative oracle deck. Tell me all about it.
So one of my I consider her a friend, but she's the creator of many tarot decks, including the 8th House Tarot deck, the Prism Tarot deck, and also started a Kickstarter for this Stories collaborative deck. Now, this is such an amazing project. Sarah at Shop the 8th House on Instagram has started, but it's a beautiful collection of 50 myths and stories that are retold by 50 members of the Instagram tarot and spiritual community. Very similar to Arcana Brick Road. And it's such a wonderful thing in terms of bringing all of these different voices, again, from the community together. And this is a way that we can actually tangibly show our support for each other. So if you help fund this deck, if you use this deck, then what you were saying is you're saying yes to the community. You were saying, yes, I want to be part of this. And maybe, you know, in the future, there will be other collaborative projects. And the thing is, if you think about it, this is something that just spontaneously happened that Sarah decided to create just in a spark of inspiration, being inspired by the community. And that is the power of the community. But the thing is, though, it's that you cannot just approach the community with this idea of how much can I get? Okay. Ask not what, ask not what the community can do for you. Ask what you can do for the community.
There you go.
But once you harness that power, it's like, it's an endless cycle of inspiration and of bouncing energies off and of making new contacts and resources and all of these things. But we have to be committed to showing up for each other. If we don't show up for each other, then it's all for naught, right? But this deck is going to be gorgeous. I actually, if hopefully it's about, I think, 10 days left. So I'm not sure when this video will come out, but check out the projects. It's on Kickstarter. It's about, I think it's like 94% funded right now. So, and I also, I noticed that, some people, they don't always have the money to pledge, which makes sense. But if people still want to hype it, want to share it, I actually pledged for 2 decks. So the second deck that I receive, if it goes into print, I will be doing a giveaway with that as a thank you for everyone that helped support the project.
That's awesome. I love that. Yes. So I will put a link. So there will be a link in the bottom of this video for you guys to go to this Kickstarter. It is a fabulous, fabulous project, and I'm all about getting behind it. So if you can, support. It's so important, right?
We can do it together.
Yeah. So what else? What other things do you have anything else going on right now that you wanted to share with everybody?
Well, right now, I kind of have a fun project. You've probably seen it on Instagram where I'm doing just an Oracle card a day where I'm just using Sharpie markers and this like blank cards. I'm just like spontaneously creating a card a day. I think by the time we're out of lockdown and quarantine, I will have a full deck of Oracle cards, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Also, I want to start a project. So Instagram has been wonderful because Instagram was so open to allowing facilitation of the community. YouTube can be a little more like in the desert, kind of feeling isolated. So I'm trying to think of a new project that's going to incorporate some of the maybe like lesser known. I mean, my YouTube channel is not huge, but some of the people that are first starting, I'm probably going to develop some sort of thing where I can help feature them on my channel. I want to do something similar to what I'm doing on Instagram with the tiny reviews, featuring the Instagram pages of other people. I want to do that on YouTube, but it's just going to take me a little bit time to finesse it and figure out, what's the best approach to that. But I want to help try to foster that same sense of community, find that community on YouTube and give them, again, reserve that space in order for all of us to meet up together to work for the best interest of the collective together there as well.
I love that. I love that. It's so fantastic when you're able to help people who are just starting out and they're starting to build, and it's hard when you're first starting out. Like, you don't know when you see those low numbers. I know many of us will get that like panic feel, like, oh no, how are people going to find us? But by helping one another, we can help build those numbers and get each other out there even more and help grow our community that much more and make it that much stronger. So I love that. I love that idea. Like we were doing Repost Wednesday, where we repost cool content all from our community on Instagram. But we realized that we did it a little too much, and we got a little hand smacky from Insta. Because we were doing I think we were doing 6 every Wednesday. Then they're like, okay. I guess it was a little spammy to have that much content coming in through one day. So that was a good reminder. So I love doing that though, where you find new and different people to follow and to be inspired by. And I love that you're creating that same type of project for YouTube. I think because you, like you said, you already do it for Insta. I think nobody's doing it for YouTube. It's so smart.
Yeah. So. Also, too, it's just again, YouTube is really interesting because I'm kind of thinking aside from maybe high doses of psychedelics, the closest thing you're going to come to experiencing ego death is probably through YouTube. It's probably the experience of worrying about the numbers, worrying about the followers, doing all this stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I actually got really lucky because some of the people that when I first started, I actually got a nice shout out. There's a lady, Star Lordess Tarot, and she is just freaking amazing. And she gave me my first shout out. And I really give her a lot of credit for helping me kind of like put my foot in. Also, Angela Mary Magic on Instagram and YouTube. What a wonderful person. What a wonderful energy. I mean, I feel so grateful for the people that helped me feel included and helped me feel welcome, even though they had absolutely no reason to. And that's the kind of energy. Through that gratitude, I want to pay that forward. And I hope that all of us continue to keep doing those nice, considerate things to help each other succeed. And that's how we're going to make the world a better place, right?
I love that. And you do that. You know what? I'm telling you, Nee is such a huge supporter. She's always like reposting and like throwing out shout outs, and for Intuitive Readers Guild and for anybody else that like she is like just generally like wholeheartedly trying to support. It's so awesome to see, and it's so inspiring. And so I think it's fantastic if we're all able to do that much more. It just makes, it's just good. It brings love.
I mean, what feels better than like validating someone else and what they feel like is their life path, is their life purpose, you know, like I don't know. I feel like the way I try to interact with people just on a personal level, I try to imagine to myself, I think to myself, what if this interaction with me is the only time they're going to interact with someone who's going to treat them decently this entire day, this entire week, this entire year, okay? So I just try to treat people in that way. And what I find is when I invest that feeling, that emotion, that in people typically, they really appreciate that and they will invest back in you. But it can't be simply because you want some sort of reward or you want something from them. It really needs to be generated from that desire, that motivating drive to actually make changes, to actually make things better, to actually express yourself creatively, be authentic. You know, whatever it is that you're bringing, just bring it 100%. That's what I feel. I don't know.
You totally you just give off that total energy too. You are heart-centric all the way, and and I love that. I love that about you. It's so cool. Like the moment you're just all about helping others and like making sure everybody feels included and everybody has an opportunity to put themselves out there and be part of this amazing community. There's no better feeling than helping others grow and build, and just when you see that, it is so gratifying. And like you said, yes, like an awesome like sidekick to that can be like they show you that love back. But even if they don't, it's awesome to know that you're trying to help others.
I mean, that's like ideal though. If you can benefit yourself and also help others, if you can benefit yourself from helping others, that's actually quite beautiful, as long as you're not, I don't know. I just feel like what I realized though, it's like spirituality, tarot, all these things traditionally, people have used these to exploit people that are in very, in very needy positions, people that really need actual help and assistance and support. And for us to be predatory of that people is unacceptable. Yeah. So this is also being accounting for each other. When we are part of a community, we can account for each other. We can look out for each other. We can make sure that we are making sure that the integrity of our skill, of our career, of our profession is not being compromised by people that are con artists, by people that will exploit and use the trust of these people. That's the one thing. When you are a tarot reader, that is or oracle reader, or spiritual guide, the one thing that should strike you is how much responsibility that actually is interacting with these people that honestly, again, you may be the only person who has shown interest in them, the only person who wants to give them any sort of support, any sort of empathy. So it's like, that's a lot of responsibility. And that's one thing that I think that might stop people from maybe, that could be a little bit like cause anxiety, but at the same time, I think that is the number one thing that you have to ask yourself before you start publicly doing this, before you start helping clients, before you start doing anything, is to really examine your own ethics, your own motivations, and to make sure that's coming from a place of purity. Because this, just like obviously we're not doctors, we're not therapists, but just like they take the Hippocratic Oath, I think that spiritualists and tarot readers and oracle readers, we should come up with some sort of do no harm oath, and we should hold each other accountable for that.
100%. I totally agree. I think we need to we create our standards, and they have to be higher than you can imagine, because what you said, like you said, we are for a lot of people out there who are wanting, you know, who are coming to us, we are the only people who are sitting there and listening to their problems and to their issues, and helping them and helping guide them, and we have a standard that we have to live up to, and it's super important. Like you said, throughout the years there have been charlatans, for lack of a better word, you know, but it's unfortunately there's like a negative, there have been negative people out there who have used and abused what we do to take advantage of other people, and that's sick and disheartening, and it's up to us to smash that stereotype and to make sure we don't allow that in our industry, in our community.
Because it devalues the whole community, the whole industry. Okay. So that's really, and I mean, maybe I'm like, hopefully I'm not like, but I'm so passionate about that, because honestly, this tool that we have access to, that we're able to share with each other, it just helps to empower so many people. It helps to validate and empower so many people. And if we can't do something good with that energy, it's like, what can we actually do?
Like, that's a big part of creating the IRG and bringing everyone together, is to create a community that holds itself to a higher standard, to smash the stereotypes that tarot intuitive readers, oracle card readers, they're, you know, charlatans, or I don't know why I got charlatans in my head today. Charlatans, scammers, you know, all that icky stuff that unfortunately a lot of people have in their head of what we do, because obviously that's not what we do. We are here to help people, and helping people, you have to have you have to have a high level of standard and ethics on what you do and how you do it. And I think it's really important that everybody present themselves in the best way possible to do that. So I'm right there with you. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I think is very important. A conversation that we bring up more often in our community to talk about. And like you said, like setting up like just a list of standards that we all hold ourselves to, you know, I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully in the future, as the community comes more and more together, and more facilitators of the community come out, maybe we will be able to work together to create some sort of standardized thing.
Nee, it was so great having you. Thank you so much for being here. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me mostly on YouTube. You can search for me either as the Immaterial Garden or Primordial Flowers Tarot. Either one will work and bring up my channel. Also, I'm at Instagram at Primordial Flowers Tarot, and that's primarily the platforms that I use.
Perfect. And seriously, if you don't follow Nee, please do, because she is fantastic. She is an instant smile. The moment you see one of her videos, it just makes you happy. So again, Nee, thank you so much for being here. And everyone, have a great day.